You are now listening to two dudes in their 30s with Adam and Greg. They're gonna talk about stuff, and you're gonna listen. Okay, got it. Good. Let's start the show.
All right, we are live in Providence, Rhode Island. Hello, Adam. Hi. Dude, don't whisper like that. It's like so weird. So, it's Friday, May what?
11th?
May 11th. And we're in Providence. We're here to see Under Oath. We talked about that on the last episodes.
So
we're psyched. Let me give Adam the mic. He's got to say something. He's what?
So excited.
He's so excited. Okay. And we have Pat here too. Pat, say hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
Brother-in-law Pat.
Yeah, so we're here. We're in the room. We're getting this thing banged out real quick. We want to record the intro and the outro to this week's episode with Mr. James Brooks. But we figured we just chat for a couple seconds. So Adam hated my driving on the way here.
It was too close.
He did
Way too close. I had to kept stomping on the floor like I had the brakes on my side.
He was pumping the brakes on the floor. Even though we were fine. Like I'm a capable driver. How he made it across the country for multiple days, I don't know. But did you do most of the driving?
I did most of the driving. Teresa the last few days took it over, and I was probably obnoxious. Probably pretty obnoxious the rest of the time.
We made it. Whatever, it's all good. So we made it here. There's a lot of road construction, but now we're hanging out in this room with some bunk beds, and you can check out our Instagram. I guess we're gonna be we're posting stuff now, and you're not gonna hear this till Monday. So maybe we'll post a couple extra things so that way you can check out the trip.
We're at the Dean Hotel in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yes, this place is cool. This place is really cool. It's a beautiful.
Where'd you find this?
I was looking for just whatever. I was looking for decent rooms in Providence. Like I think I found it on like Priceline or something like that, and they had some deals. And originally it was going to be 4 of us coming, so I was looking for a room where 4 of us could stay in one room. And we've bunked beds before, which was fine, like together. But I was like, hey, maybe we can find a place where the 4 of us can stay in separate beds. And I found this room at the Dean that has like 4 bunk beds. So it's actually pretty cool.
Super modern, really nice. I'm going to say it's like a gentleman's hotel. Everything is very swanky, like very modern, nice dark hardwood floors, wrought iron bunk beds. It's really nice.
It's really cool. Brother-in-law Pat, any words on the hotel?
Very nice hotel. Let me just say, I thought your driving was stellar.
Thank you. And this is coming from somebody that's a professional driver that drives fire trucks for a living and fights fires too. But I thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think I did a pretty good job of navigating us here and getting us here. So what else? You got anything, Adam? Anything to talk about this week? You started your job back again. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Oh, man. Terry, if you're listening, you're a crazy mofo.
I'm not taking that out either.
That's fine. He knows. We had a few situations this week we got through. It's just a few bumps in the roads. Just getting back into the swing of things. I forgot how crazy it was to work in his industry, in his world. But it's been exciting. It's been fun. Just jump back into the swing of things here. So.
All right, so we probably don't have to screw around much. We're only like a couple beers in, so you probably should like kind of quickly get to the guests this week, and then we can keep getting after these Narragansetts or whatever. Which, whatever, they're fine.
Nothing to write home about.
Say that again.
Nothing to write home about.
Yeah, I mean they're okay. Like they're okay. Like Pat said, they probably do a pretty good job of marketing their product. It's in a tall can. It says "Hi Neighbor." I mean, that's their thing, I guess, is "Hi Neighbor."
I think they have a Jaws tie, too.
A Jaws tie. Okay, yeah, so were they in the movie Jaws? I don't really know. But I'm kind of like, they're okay. No offense to Narragansett, but we're going to get through these 3 tall boys and move on to the next thing. So it's all good. One more time.
I can't. That was it.
That's all we got. All right. You want to talk a little bit about James for a minute, and then we'll flip it over there. And so I hate when I keep saying flip it over. I hate that. Okay. Turn it over. Get to the talk.
Get to the talk.
Flip it over. I keep saying it. I freaking hate that. I listen to it every week on the edit, and I can't stand that. I keep saying that every single week. So, all right. I'm keeping that in, but we're going to figure out another way to introduce James. So you want to talk a little bit about him for a second?
All right, this week we have James Brooks, a local to the Capital District from Schenectady, New York. And yeah, me and him have been friends for a few years now, and he's just a mega entrepreneur. He has a few businesses going and really cool insight into the marketing and business and sales kind of world. So yeah, we'll flip it over.
Don't even say that.
We will flip it over.
No. Give me this.
No, I'm holding the mic.
Give me. No, I'm not going to do that. Pat, do you have anything else to say? Are you good?
No, I'm just excited to be here with you guys. Very excited to be here with you guys.
Okay.
For the show.
Yes. Under oath tonight in Providence, Rhode Island. We're gonna whatever. We're gonna listen to us talk to James. That's what we're gonna do because I can't keep saying flip. It's annoying. All right. Here's us talking. Very late last week. I fell asleep before we even started this thing. Very late, huh? It was like 9:45. I fell asleep on the couch, and Adam had to text me and call me to wake me up so we could talk to James. But it was a cool, fun conversation that we had with him. Just an insightful guy. Started a bunch of businesses, like Adam said, and yeah, we just had a good talk when he was on a boat. He was moving a houseboat. So out to Montauk, down in the city. So here's us talking to James Brooks.
Hey, what's up, Dan? How are you, man?
Hey, good. How's it going?
Doing good. Where are you? What are you doing right now?
So I am in Port Jefferson, Long Island, in Long Island Sound. I'm moving a houseboat from Kingston, New York, out to Montauk that a buddy of mine just bought to keep at his restaurant out in Montauk. And I don't know if you've ever been out to Montauk, but the housing situation out there during the season is a nightmare. So he's got all these employees that have no place to stay, or the rents are just crazy high. So he bought 3 houseboats that he keeps outside his restaurant, and people just crash on the houseboats.
And he's friends with you, and knowing that you're a sailor, he's like, dude, get these things out here for me.
Yeah, pretty much. And he bought this one. He already had 2 out there from last year, and he bought this one. He found it online on Craigslist or something, and he bought it without even going to look at it or anything. And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, it's good to go. Just wire me the money and come pick it up, and it's good to go." He talked the guy down a little bit, but still, we got up there, and right away we had to haul the boat out of the water for a whole day and put $1,000 worth of work in it just to get it to run, just to get it to be able to drive. And then we were going today. I was just about right at the north end of Manhattan, going underneath the Spuyten Duyvil, like Spuyten Duyvil Bridge, right? You know what Spuyten Duyvil is, or where that is in Manhattan?
No idea. No.
It's basically like the northernmost tip of Manhattan, separating Manhattan and the Bronx. And so we were turning into there. I just called the bridge operator there to open up the bridge for us, and we lost our port side engine.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we were making really good time cruising all day long, and then we lost one of our engines, and so we had to limp our way here all the way out to Port Jeff. That's why I'm like 3 hours late.
Oh, this sounds ridiculous. So when you're not limping along in somebody else's houseboat, kind of give us a background of your schedule and like how you got to where you're at now, I guess. Like starting from, when me and you were hanging out in Schenectady back in the day to kind of where you're at, running multiple businesses, like super hustler here. So give us a little background.
I mean, one of my philosophies is, and the way I live my life right now especially, is I always want to diversify my means of income. So I've got, usually anywhere from 4, 5, 6 different ways that I'm hustling and making money. I got started as a kid when probably about 12 years old. I was doing landscaping just in Schenectady in the tri-state area, or upstate area. Tri-state's down here. Yeah. So I was doing landscaping just around my neighborhood and up in Galway at Galway Lake during the summer. And that's kind of where I really found my entrepreneurial spirit. And so I was hiring friends and just making it work. And I never took a job working at McDonald's or anything like that, like a lot of teenagers do. And I never worked in the mall, none of that. I just always found way to do it on my own. And I was writing contracts for jobs that were worth several $100s, which when you're 13 years old is a great deal of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still have these framed contracts that I wrote when I was like 13 years old. My mom put them in frames for me. So I took that, and after college, when I moved down to the city, I started working on some e-commerce projects and dabbling in that sphere. And then the brand that succeeded, the Elephant Pants, is really what accelerated my learning curve. So that was like getting an MBA for me.
Right. So to give us a little history, a rundown into like that's my dog, by the way, barking. Sorry.
What's up, dog?
So give us a little history, like background. How in the world did like you come up with this idea, or like you and a partner come up with this idea for selling like a clothing brand?
Yeah. Well, it was a partner and I, and we were running another e-commerce brand at the same time when we started to formulate this idea. And, you got two guys that start selling this clothing that's predominantly for women, although if you've ever tried these pants on, like as a guy, you're going to love them. They're just so comfortable.
My wife's got like 10 pairs of them. She loves them.
Yeah, right.
I haven't slipped one on yet, but maybe I'll try it on.
Man.
They look pretty comfy.
They're very, very comfy. And that's really where, we started this idea based on not only the comfort and just the look and feel of the product, but also the fact that we could do something good too with this product. So as we were ideating and coming up with the essence of the brand, I was like, man, we really need to do more than just sell a product here, because that's all we had done before was just sell a product. So that's when we decided we wanted to give back to elephants and help prevent elephant poaching. And so we were shooting from the hip, and we said, all right, let's start doing this, and we're going to say we're donating to the African Wildlife Foundation. And we didn't really run anything by them at first. We tried reaching out to them just to say, hey, this is what we are, this is what we're doing, but they didn't take us seriously until we cut them that first check. So we just started saying, hey, we're raising this money, and we did. And then we started sending them thousands of dollars because the sales started rolling in, and the next thing you know, we donated $150,000 over the course of 2 years to elephant conservation.
That's crazy.
And then with that, we were able to really establish the brand and create a strong community. And we went through the application process for Shark Tank, and that was, I can't go into too much detail about the application process, but we ended up applying twice. The first time, we got pretty far along, and they wanted us to hold off for that current season, and they were going to get in touch with us again in the future, and they did. They followed through on that, and they got us in for season 8, and that was just an incredible experience. So, being able to take what I had learned and bring that in front of millions of people and pitch to those 5 sharks was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So, that just was like a crowning achievement for that brand. And then I ended up working out a deal with my founding partner where he bought me out. We had different directions we wanted to go with the business, and he offered right away when we were having that conversation. He said, well, I'll buy you out. And so as a person who builds if you build a startup company, that's your goal for the most part, or that's a dream that a lot of people, great startup brands have, is to be able to build it and walk away from it at hopefully a peak, or hopefully at a high point.
Yeah.
And for me, my passion really, I'm more passionate about building businesses and taking a business that has a lot of potential but hasn't achieved that yet, and helping that business get there. And also, I'm passionate about being out in the water and sailing, and so I've done a lot recently to build my businesses on the water. So I can go into those as well, wherever you want to start, man.
Well, do you want to dive in a little bit to the Shark Tank a little bit, like, experience, or do you want to? What are your thoughts, Greg?
I'm just interested in how that whole thing was, like the idea of even getting that chance. And I'm Greg, by the way.
What's up, Greg?
How's it going? Of just, I don't know. I feel like the pressure of what that is, not only the fact that you could get the money, but just the amount of eyes on that would
The hype.
that might crush me before I can even get a chance to get out there. So how do you prepare for something like that, or do you just kind of have to be yourself and go for it?
It's a definitely combination of both. We did a lot of prep on that initial 1 minute pitch. That was very rehearsed, and we had a friend who's a director out in LA even help us with that and give us a couple of quick pointers. Like, he was the one who suggested the shuffle dance, the hammer dance
Yeah.
with Damon at the end. Well, we incorporated it into our pitch, and then Damon did it with us at the end of our segment. So that initial pitch was very rehearsed, but the rest of the segment that was filmed, they cut it down to about 10 minutes on the show, but we filmed for probably 45 minutes to an hour. That was all us using our knowledge of our business and our brand and where we wanted to go with it and our customer base, and just rolling with the punches when they were throwing questions at us. And then also, I guess I've always been pretty good under pressure. I mean, I'm a captain. I'm now working on my pilot's license, so I guess being up there and pitching to sharks is kind of like landing a plane. When you're up there and you're the only one in a plane, and you're 1,000 feet off the ground coming into pattern around the runway, it's on you to put that plane down. Nobody else is going to do it for you. So, like, when you're up there pitching in front of the sharks, it's on you to succeed and make that happen.
That's awesome. I don't know. I just like, I mean, obviously it's a TV show, so I'm sure there's more to be seen than, obviously what they cut it down to, but just the whole process of it, when the lights are on, that's pretty crazy. I think you have to kind of be built for that, or part of you is probably just made for that. So I was kind of curious, just in talking with Adam a little bit about your background and the different businesses that you started. You talked a little bit about when you were a kid and the fact you never really got that job at McDonald's. You always kind of had that entrepreneurial kind of spirit to do your own thing. Is that something you think, like, from the people that you've talked with that started businesses, that is just kind of innate, or is part of someone from the beginning, or is that something that you kind of came to later as you were kind of getting older, like, yeah, I definitely want to do my own thing and I don't want to work for anybody else?
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, I've met people who discovered it later in life. It's not, I can't say that it's somebody who found that early in life, and, that's the only type of people that you'll find that are successful entrepreneurs. I mean, I had a period around college when I didn't really have my entrepreneurial drive. And looking back at it, I'm like, man, why was that missing at that point in my life? And I don't really have a good reason for that, but I know that I was able to find it again. And I think during college, you're just focused on different things. Whether it's socializing, partying with friends, rather than trying to focus on building businesses. And some people are very successful at building businesses in college, and they get right out of the gate running. For me, it kind of came in waves, where I had that initial drive when I was a young kid and through high school, and then it hit me again when I was about 25 or so, 24, 25. I was working a job in the city for another really successful entrepreneur, one of my mentors, and the position that I had was a good position, but it didn't allow me to really stretch my entrepreneurial muscles. So that's when I started working on some of these other projects, e-commerce projects, and I was able to pursue that for long enough and stick with it, that I finally built a business that could sustain me as an entrepreneur without having to work other jobs. So without having to work a 9 to 5 job, for example, I was able to support myself and build this very successful company.
Yeah, and you've also like at the same time are building other brands and other companies as well. You said like how many companies or businesses are you running right now?
Right now, well. Let me list them off so I can count with you guys. So I have my sailboat charter business down in New York City. I also I help operate another sailboat charter business. So I'm one of the managers of that business. And that's for a boat called the Ventura, which is this 100-year-old 75-foot long, beautiful wooden sailing yacht that we take up to 25 people out sailing around Manhattan. And my boat is a smaller boat. I take up to 6 people out sailing around Manhattan. So they're very complementary boats. We get a lot of smaller parties that will go out in my boat. We get larger parties that go out in the bigger boat. And then I have another boat that I am running for it's a power boat that I run for another owner captain. So I've got this a really solid and very busy schedule in the summer in New York between the boats that I'm running and just, for example, taking this boat that I'm on right now from Kingston down to Montauk, and I've really established myself in the New York community, especially as a captain and an operator down here. So I guess you could call that one business, although there's really 3 businesses there in one for me. And then I've got a consulting business that I'm running where I'm working on, right now I have 2 clients, but we're building out, it's a former partner and I, we're working together and we're working with e-commerce brands for the most part that are looking for either help with sales or marketing or branding or web development. So my former partner and I have, he's a current partner now, but he's a former partner with the Elephant Pants as well. Mm-hmm. But we have very different skill sets and also quite a bit of overlap. But he's much more of a web developer designer, and I'm more of the branding and sales and marketing. So we combine our skill sets to work with these brands, and we scope out the projects. We work with them for a while to really understand what they're looking for, and then we build out a game plan for them, timelines, for example, deliverables, scope the project out, and then go at it. So right now we're working on a couple brands, and then I've also got a website that I just built out for my family's company back up in Albany. Mm-hmm. And that's a company that's been in the family for over about 60 years or so, a little over 60 years. And I'm helping bring them into the 21st century by getting some online sales going for some of their product offerings. So most of what they do is too complicated to sell online. It's a windows, doors, and fine hardware company. Mm-hmm. So, for example, some of the hardware such as cabinet pulls and window hardware or door sets, we're selling that stuff online. Yeah. And right, but a window takes so much hand-holding and so much design work that's not really a sellable product online at this point in time. So we're starting with some of the more simple, standardized products, although they're still fairly complicated. So it's an interesting project.
How did the sailing come into your life as an interest?
Man, you know what? I've always been drawn to sailing and boats. Like, ever since I was a little kid, I was drawing pictures of boats and just talking about boats nonstop. And I grew up in Schenectady, but my family had a camp up on Galway Lake, which is about half an hour north of Schenectady, kind of between Amsterdam and Saratoga, New York. And it was a small lake, only a couple square miles. And no motorboats on it, but lots of sailboats. So I started sailing as a young kid when I was about 6 years old. My mom tells this story of when I just learned how to sail, and it was a neighbor. His name was Mr. Brown, and he taught me how to sail, just very basic. And he said, hey, here, I've got this sunfish for you. You can take it out whenever you want, as long as you put it back and you take care of it. And he showed me what to do with it. And I was 6 years old at the time, and I said to my mom, hey, Mom, I'm going to take you out for a sail around the lake. And, she said that she was thinking to herself, yeah, okay, we're going to get out there. She's going to have to paddle us back. But sure enough, I brought her out in the boat, and we went across the lake, and I sailed her right back where we came from.
Wow.
So I guess it was just something I was born with, and I joke around with people that I must have been a captain in another life or something, because it's not like I didn't learn from anybody in my family. Like, there was nobody in front of me in my family who was an avid sailor. I just picked it up. And then I had the good fortune of meeting another mentor of mine. His name is Captain Pat, and he's the guy who owns the Ventura, the large sailing yacht down here in the city. I stumbled upon him in the Ventura when I first moved down to New York City and started working on that boat. And I learned way more than I ever thought I would about sailing and boats in general over the last 10 years, just by that chance meeting. And when I was a kid, I never thought to myself, I could become a captain and actually earn money on boats. It never really occurred to me growing up in upstate New York. You don't come across people who do that too often up there. And but being down in the city and working on the Ventura and meeting other captains down there, I said, yeah, this is something I can definitely achieve and go after. So I started down that path of working towards my captain's license, and I ended up getting my license about 3 years ago. So I'm a commercially licensed captain. I can command up to 50-ton vessels in near coastal waters. That's the official Coast Guard. Official
Lingo?
Coast Guard lingo, or I guess their registration for me. That's my ticket.
Oh, I gotcha. So being an entrepreneur, you obviously it's like your child, these businesses, but you at some points you get away and get to have some fun. And recently I saw some cool stuff online of you and your father and your brother doing like a big sail from Florida back up. You want to kind of go into that a little bit, or
yeah, sure.
Good.
So, I took my boat last November, and I decided, I'm going to bring my boat from New York down to Florida. And it's something that I had wanted to do for a long time, to sail the East Coast, because as a captain working on the East Coast, to have that experience of going up and down the coast is invaluable. Now I have all that experience. It's crazy how much of the coast I remember, because when I came back up north from Florida, just about a little less than a month ago, I remembered like every nook and cranny. It's kind of crazy. So now I have all that experience, and if somebody, for example, needs a boat moved, well, now I have the experience to say, okay, yeah, I could take your boat from New York down to Florida. And that's actually, captains make a great deal of money doing that type of work. So, I really wanted the experience. I wanted the sea time of being out there and doing more ocean sailing. So I decided to bring my boat down south, down to Florida, for the winter. And I originally thought, I'll try to figure out a way to run some charters down there. And so I was looking into some places to keep the boat, and well, then, the way things work out sometimes, I ended up spending most of the winter out in Colorado with my girlfriend, just because I'd rather be with my girlfriend than hanging out alone on a boat down in Florida.
Yeah.
So I didn't end up running any charters down on the boat in Florida, but I was working out in Colorado, doing my consulting and building out my family's website for the family business. And so I was focusing on that and taking flying lessons, working on my pilot's license. And then I came back down to Florida, met up with my dad and my brother. And we left on April 6th, and we did 65 hours straight from Port St. Lucie, Florida, which is just a little bit above West Palm Beach, about an hour drive northwest Palm Beach. So pretty close to the middle of the state, a little further south. We started there, and we went 65 hours, about 407 nautical miles it was, right up to Charleston.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And my dad had never done anything like that before. And his learning curve, it was pretty cool to watch. At first, he couldn't even steer by compass. I would give him a heading, and he'd start getting off heading, and then he wouldn't be able to find that heading again. And so my brother and I worked with him to give him pointers and hold his hand a little bit there. And then within a few hours, he was taking 3-hour shifts on his own and steering the boat at night under the stars and by compass. So that was really
awesome.
fun.
I would be so lost out there. Oh my God.
Right.
You would have thrown me off
Well,
like
that's why
10
you
minutes in.
have to
I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were gonna
we could
say you
make
got
you
off in Charleston and didn't get back on. But
well, that is kind of the case, because that was his getting off point anyway.
okay, all right.
Yeah. No, they weren't able to come up the whole coast with me. It was coming up the coast was 10 days underway, 14 days total, because I had 2 days in Charleston and then 2 days in Atlantic City, where I was waiting out bad weather. So they had to get back upstate. They had to get back up to New York. So my buddy Alex, who works for me down here on the boat, he came and met up with me in Charleston, and then we sailed the boat, just he and I, from Charleston up to New York City.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing trip. The way back north, I mean, we made great time. We did the whole trip. Like I said, we were 10 days underway, 14 days total, just due to the 4 days of downtime waiting for bad weather to clear out, which was much faster than my way south. When I went south, it was around the holiday time, so I was like flying back up for Thanksgiving, then flying back up for Christmas, and I was also just trying to enjoy and take a slow road on the way down, so I could see a lot of the towns and really experience the coast.
Very cool, man. So shifting gears a little bit back into like being an entrepreneur, what kind of advice or insight do you think is like invaluable that you hold that, I don't know, somebody just trying to get their foot wet or just trying to step into starting a business? Like, what are some different things that you've learned that you would like to pass on to somebody?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I tell people a lot is just to stay in motion. A lot of people will get stuck in their head and put up roadblocks in their head before they even try to tackle a project. So, a lot of people they'll have this idea, and I might be chatting with them, or they'll come to me with an idea, but they don't know how to get started with it. Mm-hmm. Or they're immediately putting up roadblocks and like, oh, I can't do that because of this, or there's already somebody doing that. There's already a competitor out there. Well, yeah, there's always gonna be competitors out there. Doesn't mean that you can't also join that space. So a lot of times I'll tell people just to stay in motion, whether that's doing more research or even tackling your business plan, and starting to write out a business plan. As long as you're making some progress and working towards your goal, taking that first step, you can achieve your goal, but you have to get started.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice.
Do you have like I don't know if I want to say failure, but something that didn't quite go the way you want? I'm sure you do as an entrepreneur. Something that stands out to you that you learned from, that you would that you would say, wow, if I could go back and do that over again, I would have done it this way, or but maybe it really shaped kind of how you took things, going forward, that you kind of learned from?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really say I would, maybe I would go back and do it this way. Although there are plenty of situations in business where, I mean, you go through situations, and a lot of times you're doing things by trial and error or by guessing. And yeah, there was a pretty major failure with a decision we made when we were running the Elephant Pants that cost us a great deal of money. We got hit pretty hard by a vendor that just totally screwed us over. And yeah, I would have gone back and not ever signed a contract with that vendor. And that would have really changed a lot with that business. I mean, we still ended up succeeding in the end, but it was a much more difficult road because of that problem we had with that vendor. And I think other cases are not so much failures, but just learning experiences. Like my first couple brands, they were not successes, I would say, but they were not necessarily failures. They were more like hobby brands. But you kind of need those hobby brands, or you need a hobby business sometimes to set you down that path of creating a full self-sustaining business.
So it's funny because like when we're talking to people that have started businesses, I almost kind of end up coming back to relating it to our podcast a little bit in a small way, because a lot of people have said, like, you got to kind of just get started. Like, you got to just get something out there. You got to put something out there and get started. And that's kind of how we feel when we started this. Like, we certainly were far from experts when it came to recording, having interviews. I mean, we're not even in the same place. We haven't been in the same location. So trying to ask questions of people and make a coherent conversation, like doing the editing, like doing any of this kind of stuff has been a kind of tricky challenge for us. But we're kind of like, you're never going to learn it unless you just go out and see what works and what doesn't and put yourself out there. And so I think those ties actually do kind of make sense, or they have made sense for us as we've talked to people kind of like you that have gone out and done it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the art of shameless self-promotion and the art of bullshitting, I guess. I mean, one of the things that I said, I was speaking to a bunch of kids in grade school after Shark Tank. It was actually one of my alma maters, Brown School in Schenectady, New York, and I described entrepreneurship as, and I can't remember my words exactly, but it was something to the effect of, it's the art of making people think you know what you're doing when you have no idea at all.
I was gonna say you probably didn't say bullshitting to at elementary school. But.
No, I didn't. I almost did. They'll learn soon enough.
Being in like developing brands, advertising, marketing, like what is your view? This is obviously very general. I'm sure you could go into it in a lot of different ways, but just on social media and today and how that works into developing brands, getting that online presence. How important is it to be on like the social platforms and pushing that forward, or is that more brand specific depending on what direction you're looking to go?
I mean, it's super important. It's also low-hanging fruit. You can establish a presence fairly quickly for very low cost. Really, your cost is your time investment. It takes a great deal of time to make a very good social media account. It also takes creativity and talent, and I'm not all that gifted at it. I know there's so many people out there that are great at it. I can get my presence up there, and I can do an okay job at it. But really, it's the early 20-somethings that are just so good at social media. They grew up with it. They've had it since they were early teenagers, if not early. I mean, before that. I mean, we had Facebook in 2005 or so was when it really started to take off. So, I mean, that's 13 years ago by now. These kids that are in their early 20s, they've had it almost all their lives. so they just get it, and I'm kind of getting off track. But yeah, I mean, it's so important and very inexpensive to set up those channels. One of the things that we did really successfully with the Elephant Fans was to leverage our followings. So on Instagram, for example, really finding that target market and working with influencers. Influencer marketing is kind of the Wild West right now. I mean, it's all over the place, but you can find influencers that have accounts that are, let's say, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 followers. And those people are approachable because they're not astronomically large where they're expecting you to pay them $10,000 for a post.
Right.
You know, it could be a trade of product at that point. So for a brand that's just getting started, to reach out to accounts that have 10,000 followers, let's say, well, all of a sudden you're getting in front of 10,000 more potential followers than you currently have. Your account might be at 0 or 100 or 1,000. That's still a much larger audience than you're currently reaching. There's also, with social media, there's so much micro targeting. For example, with my sailing business, it's very much location based. You know, my customers have to be in New York, or coming to New York soon to visit, whether they're tourists or coming to visit family. So I do some location targeting where I'll interact with people that are near my boat, whether they're at a restaurant near my boat or a hotel near my boat or at the park near my boat. I'll interact with them because chances are I'm in such a high visibility location with my boat. Chances are that they saw my boat as they're walking by the park. So you can really do a lot of geo targeting through social media. I mean, really whatever kind of targeting you're looking for, there's most likely a way to go after that target market. And I had a brand recently I was giving some advice to, and they were talking about not setting up social media and kind of staying off the radar with that. And I made a case for them going on social media, and after that call, they set up all their channels. It's one of those things that if you want to see astronomical growth, that's one of the ways to achieve it, especially if you're selling a e-commerce friendly product.
How did you end up in that space to begin with? It sounds like that's kind of where you started things. And I mean, I'm not sure how old you are, but you know, I don't know if you're right around the same age we are, in kind of early mid-30s. I had a buddy of mine who kind of graduated from college like in 2006 and sort of got into working for an e-commerce company. They'd been around for a while, but it seems like, you know, right around that time, late 90s, early 2000s is when things kind of blew up. How did you end up sort of trending towards that online business yourself?
Yeah, so I am also early 30 something. I'm 31. How old are you guys? Can you hear that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it makes it awesome.
That means you're not lying that
That's,
you're not on a boat.
Yeah, that's the radio of the boat. Some guy making a security call. I forgot to turn that radio off. I'll leave it on because that's kind of
Yeah, that's fine.
It's cool, man. No, we're both like 33s.
I'm
so-
34. Yeah.
You're 34.
I'm the youngin' then.
Yep.
You guys,
So
you guys getting up there. You guys getting up there.
yeah, right.
Tell
I
me
gotta get
about
my
it.
life together here.
It's 10:29.
What's
I
gonna
am
happen?
exhausted.
Right? What's gonna happen in like 6-7 years? You have to change the podcast to.
That's what Adam
You guys
said.
are
I said,
pretty-
let's try to get through 50 episodes first, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. What was the question again?
How did you get in your foot in the door?
Oh, how did I get to
e-commerce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just like with sailing, I kind of stumbled into that too. So I bumped into a college friend of mine back in 2000 and oh man, when was that? 2012 or so. And he had just started working on an e-commerce brand that he came up with this idea of he wanted to sell these really funky ties and bow ties and pocket squares. And I was looking for a project. This is like I said before. During college, I kind of lost my entrepreneurial spirit, or I just put it on hold, and I wasn't really working on any projects. And I was getting to the point where I was really looking to do something, but I wasn't really sure what yet. I was waiting for that inspiration, and so I saw my buddy Nate and what he was working on, and I approached him with a bunch of ideas, and said, this is my background, and I had a background in sales and wholesale at the time, and so I was talking about getting this product in and doing some wholesale with it, establishing relationships that way, and we ended up partnering together on the brand, and we were able to grow that brand a little bit, but it was a very, very niche product, a pretty finicky target market. And we also had a branding issue where there was another brand that had a similar name to ours that actually started after us, but they filed their trademark before us. So we had a really good lesson in intellectual property rights early on. And so I've never made that mistake again with a trademark. But and in fact, you need to get on top of that as soon as possible when you've got a brand that you launch and that sort of thing. But so we ended up going through the process of rebranding that first brand and then relaunching it, which was very interesting and a learning experience. And while we relaunched that brand, the first brand, and its second iteration was called Bedford and Broom, which is still in existence. We sold it to a friend of ours who's still in the menswear space. He runs a very successful men's subscription box, like a monthly subscription box. And so he uses our brand still to this day to put items in the box. So like he'll make Bedford and Broom socks or ties and tie clips, that sort of thing, and include them in his subscription boxes a few times a year. So from there, while we were still running Bedford and Broom, and the second iteration did significantly better than the first, the branding was more in line with our customers. So we learned a lot about branding and how to reach your customer and online marketing as well. And while we were running that brand is when we started formulating the Elephant Pants. So all those three brands really snowballed into each other and finally built the Elephant Pants. And when I was running the Elephant Pants, at first I was doing everything. I was taking photographs, product photos. I was running Facebook ads. I was boxing up orders to ship out the door, and it's just like when you're just getting something going, you got to do it all before you need to be able to pay yourself before you can pay somebody else.
It's good advice, man. It seems like you're a man of many hats, dude. But we appreciate your time here. Probably want to wrap it up and say thank you very much for the time that you did spend with us. I didn't tell Greg this yet, but every once in a while you ask for help on your sales. And I was gonna snag him, just kidnap him someday, and we're gonna come and give you a hand sometime sailing down to Florida or something. He won't know. He'll be fine with it though.
Dude, anytime.
I mean,
two little kids, so take me whenever you want.
We'll try not to kick him off the boat if he's that bad. You know what I mean? We'll let him enjoy coming along for the ride.
Yeah, I might have to just be riding along. I'm not sure. I don't know. The sailing thing is intimidating to me, but. You can figure it out. I'm sure you can figure it out.
It is. I mean, it can be very intimidating being out there. You realize just how small you are when you're on the open ocean and you're 75 miles offshore and there's nothing in sight.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
It sounds scary. I don't know if I'm in now.
Okay, right. Wait, Adam, what is that mug you're using?
Oh, dude, this is Cornelius Yukon right here.
Oh no way, dude! I'm taking that mug. I want that mug.
You can have. I'll send it to you.
Where did you get that? Because I must have one.
I got it from SeaWorld during Christmas time.
No way.
SeaWorld special right there.
Nice.
Shameless plug. All right. Well, dude, thank you very much. Get that houseboat out to Montauk.
Yeah, seriously. We should be getting there tomorrow. We've got like another 60 miles to go.
On one engine.
I'm one engine.
Oh God, it's gonna be a rough night.
Yeah. I don't know why I do this to myself. I'm like a glutton for punishment. It's like I've been joking around recently too. I sailed my boat from New York down to Florida. I went out for one joyride, like one pleasure sail, just around the river there where I was keeping the boat, and then I sailed it back. That's pretty much what it felt like. I mean, there was a lot of downtime in between. I got to spend all my time out in Colorado and go on an amazing road trip with my girlfriend and all that, and learn how to fly planes. I mean, that was pretty sweet. But yeah, I went for one joyride on the boat and then just sailed it back.
Yeah, crazy. Man, that is crazy. Do you have any businesses you want to plug or any like social medias you want to plug? How can people get in contact with you if they want to do the consulting with you? You got tons of experience there, so I mean, there's got to be somebody out there that wants to get in contact with you.
Yeah, I mean, wait, you want me to just hand my email out?
Yeah. However you
trust me. I love hearing from people, and I probably will be opening up for a couple more clients after the busy sailing season. Mm-hmm. And if anybody wants to reach me, they can reach me at james@sailsunset.com, SAIL sunset.com.
Perfect.
And then plugs, let's see, who am I thinking about right now? I've got my buddy Ben, who is going sailing on my boat tomorrow. He runs this really cool brand called Wanderer Bracelets. He makes these bracelets that are carved out of water buffalo bone and horn. Although it's humane, they're already dead from natural causes, and they're carved in Bali. He has about 150 artisans there who hand carve these figurines. So they do these. They have some that they laser etch down at his shop in West Palm Beach, Florida, with coordinates or with initials and that sort of thing on it. So they personalize these bracelets, and they also give back to the local community in Bali, and he supports anti-ivory initiatives as well. So a very cool brand there, and I'll be seeing him tomorrow. So yeah, he's on my mind.
Awesome. Hey, thank you, dude, so much for everything tonight, sharing your wealth of knowledge and your experience with us.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, guys, you're welcome.
All right, dude. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, you too.
So that was James, and that was him talking, and that was us talking to him, and we had a fun conversation, and this is a podcast that's not professional. So thank you, everybody, for listening to us again this week, as every week. We're gonna go see. We're not cutting this. This is it. We're not gonna edit this. Adam's laming out at me. He's on these acid reflux pills. It's getting him all loopy. He's had about a beer and a half, and he's ready for bed. So we're gonna go listen to some rock music, and we're gonna do Enigmatic Heart again this week. And I never know the song, but we're gonna find another one. Adam, we got something else to say?
Shout out to Bubba in San Diego and Nick Pagano in Boston Spa.
We're doing the shout outs now. We're doing shout outs from Providence. All right, whatever. This is it. We're done. Goodbye. We'll see you guys next week. Adam, anything else?
Thank you, guys.
Pat?
Thank you guys for having me.
Goodbye. We'll see you guys later.
I like this.
That's a microphone. Want to sing a song?
Uh-huh.
Hurry up. Go ahead.
I will nobody go round, 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 down. People want to go up and down, over the town.
Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.